Hello, and welcome to the first ASME series of webinars teaching you how to use various drafting softwares. First off, before we do anything, I just want to say I apologize for putting this out so late. I know that I mentioned this uh, when we were still in school, but I had some issues with internet and the recording, so I just went ahead and just decided to redo it now. Um, with that said and done, let's go ahead and begin. So first webinar series, today's first webinar is going to be in Autodesk Inventor. It's going to be about half an hour long, and I'm going to cover the general stuff that the program has, just like general drafting tools, and also show you guys where to get help if what I'm doing isn't helpful to you guys, or if you just want to learn more on your own, because I'm only going to go so far with this before I switch to a different program. But without further ado, let's begin. So what we're looking at right now is the main screen of Autodesk Inventor when you first open it up. I'm currently running Autodesk Inventor Professional 2012. It doesn't actually matter which year you're running. From 2010 forward, they all should be exactly the same. Um, you might have some issues installing it if you're doing a later one because sometimes they're a little bit finicky. Personally, the reason why I have 2012 installed is because of that very reason. I had some issues installing 2013 because I use a desktop with multiple hard drives, but that's neither here nor there. So continuing on with this main screen. So up here, these two little tabs, Learn About Inventor and Community. These two are your like best friends if you're willing to go out of your way to learn more, or if you're trying to get some extra help that I can't provide you. If you do have any questions, though, feel free to send me an email. You guys should have my email at this point. Otherwise, you can like probably post a comment, and the time that it would take for me to actually get back to you, the comments might take some time, but better late than never, I guess. Um, But so this getting started is basically what I'll be going through, just an overview of how to use the program, what various little tools do. I'm not going to go through every single tool because you guys probably won't need to use all of the tools in Inventor. Honestly, Inventor isn't used as much in the professional world, in my opinion. I think SolidWorks takes precedence um, due to how simple it is. But hopefully, I should be able to teach you guys to a point where you can just run through this program, be able to put on your resume saying that you're experienced with it. The tutorials will teach you how to use more advanced tools that this program provides. I may or may not go into that. It really depends on what you guys, the viewers, want to see. Um, Show Me Animations offers step-by-step animations on how to do things. So the tutorials are just reading through directions, while Show Me Animations are short little clips kind of walking you through every step of the way. Um, Now these three right here are very useful. Customer involvement is you, the consumer, are giving feedback to the Autodesk company to see like where they need to improve and things like that. Um, engineersrule.org and wiki help are both really good places to go if you have any questions that the tutorials or myself can't answer. Okay, but that's about that. If you have any like specific things that you want to look for and don't want to sift through all of this, you can actually go up here and type in the little search bar. It's really nice because, again, if you're looking for something really specific and you don't feel like sifting through, you can just go ahead and search in there. But I'm going to go ahead and click New. So this is what we're going to see. Okay. This, as the tab implies, this is the default tab. And what you set as your default is dependent on when you install it, but you can still pick what the other measurements you want in the other tabs. I believe my default is in English standard units, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So what I'm going to click is sheet metal. Actually, no, let's do standard.ipt. Okay, so the various files um, are important. Okay, So you can tell by looking at the image what they kind of mean. So these two files here are blocks, while these two files are stacks of blocks. So what this is you're assembling these files together into one bigger object. This file here is for looking at a orthographic view of your object. Okay, so go to standard.ipt, open that up. Um, just to let you guys know, this program does use a lot of RAM. So the first time you boot it up, it's gonna lag a little bit, so just bear with it. If you do want to actually make it so that it runs a little bit smoother, you can open it up, close it, open it up a few times so that your computer is actually used to running something this, what's the word I'm looking for? Intensive. Okay, so this is the main screen that we look at. Um, what I'm going to focus on today is basically this entire drawbar here, specifically line, circle, arc, rectangle, and maybe some of these. We'll see where the time goes, but I'm going to try to get into at least these three: fillet, polygon, and text. Spline, e ellipse, and point aren't too important. They help you out in various scenarios, but it's not necessary for what we want to do. So first off, line. It's as easy as it says. If I don't cover something right with the options, you can actually hover over them and it tells you what to do. That's the nice thing about Autodesk programs. They're very user friendly. So all I'm doing is kind of fast tracking you guys along with the learning process. So go ahead and click line. And after you click line, your little mouse becomes this. You get a little coordinate grid and a yellow dot. So basically, when you click anywhere on this screen, you're going to start your line. So I'm going to click over here. And then your second click is going to be finishing the line. So you can see values came up. As I move it along, the value changes. You can actually type in the value that you want for specifics. I'm going to go ahead and type 2 and then hit enter. So the line I just drew, as you can see, it just popped up there, is 2 because, again, I set my standard as inches. That is 2 inches on the screen. So after I drew that line, I'm still in the drawing command. If you want to cancel the drawing command, you can either just right click. Oh, no, sorry, not right click. My mistake. Actually, yeah, you could right click and done. But the easiest thing you can do is escape right there, just like that. A shortcut to bring back the command is to hit enter. So like if you're using something you didn't mean to exit out, you can just hit enter again, it'll come back up. But do be careful because, like say you were deleting something, if you hit enter after you delete something, the command that you just used is delete. So the next thing you do will be deleting. So be careful with that. So same premise with typing in values. So if I hit tab, the X bar just became selectable, like the X value. So I'm going to hit 0 on that, and that makes that point 0 on the X axis. So if I hit tab again, it'll go to the Y. If I hit 0 again and then hit enter, that's where my line will start. So if you want to start somewhere specific, so like 2 inches out and 4 inches up. So you do 2 for the X and then 4 for the Y, and then that's where you'll start, 2, 4. And now you can, going on with further with the line command, you see that there is a degree value. You can actually adjust that again by hitting tab. So now you can type in what specific angle you want to be at. So if you do a calculation for an object that you're trying to construct and you need an angle to be really specific, say like 67 degrees, you can just hit tab in the when you're drawing a line and then do 67 and then hit enter. And that, see, that angle now is 67 degrees. But what's nice is if you had entered in the length of the line that you wanted and then hit tab, it'd be that length plus at that angle. You can actually double click the line if it lets me. Come on. Well, um, okay. So if you had entered in the measurement of the line that you wanted before tabbing and then entering a degree, the line that you would have drawn would have been that length at that specific angle. So something to keep in mind. Here, I'll just show the command again, just so that everyone understands what I'm saying. So this, you can see the dotted line there. That is what's considered 0 when you're drawing your line. So I want a line of, say, 2 inches, and I want it at 45 degrees. So that is my line of 2 inches at a 45 degree. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select everything and delete it. Easiest way to select everything is just do Control A, or you can start at a bottom right corner and drag left. That's how you select everything. If you do the other way, you're only doing a specific object selection. Don't recall exactly. I'll look into it and try to remember to tell you guys for the next video, but let's continue so that your time isn't wasted. So the next command we have in the bar is circle, and there is two ways to draw the circle, by center point and by tangent. By center point, it's obviously like how you would draw a circle with a compass. You start at a center point. You see the value that is changing. That value is based on the radius. So you can enter that in again. So I want to circle radius 1, and then voila. This circle has a radius of 1, so therefore a diameter of 2. But if I wanted to do a circle tangent, it's actually really interesting because you can't just draw it normally. You need tangents to draw the circle. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line here, a line here, and a line there. Okay. Now I'm going to do the circle by tangent. I'm going to go ahead and click these lines. And voila, I have a circle that is fit within the parameters of these tangents. Okay. So that obviously is for when you need a round object in a specific spot. And you don't really want to do the math to figure it out. You just can choose that option and just click the 3 points that the circle will be touching. And you'll get a circle out of that. Okay. Select everything again, delete. So now moving on to the arc command. Again, there's multiple ways to draw an arc. You have 3 point, you have tangent, and you have center point. Obviously, the tangent is similar to how the circle tangent was. You actually need some kind of an endpoint. Okay, I'm going to start with this one. So I'm going to start on this line, and then I'm going to draw to this one. As you can see, this arc was starting on this line where I clicked it as the tangent to the other line where I clicked for the tangent. It's a little finicky sometimes because what you need to do is actually probably change the values that you want as it goes. I personally don't like to play around with the tangent arc. I honestly don't play around with the arc too much because there's a better function to use for it, specifically fill it, and I'll be going into that here in a second. But if you were to draw an arc, you probably want to go off of center point or 3 point. Center point is very similar to how you drew the circle. So you have a center point, draw out radius of the circle that you want, and then it tells you the angle that your arc will be at. So right now my radius is 0.5, and my degree that my arc will be is 137. And if you click, it starts you right there, 137 degrees from 0 at the specified length that you wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and just bring it back to 0 by going 137 again, and voila, that is the arc that I specified at ½ inch, starting at 137 degrees and goes back to 0, 137 degrees. Oops, did not mean to do that. Now going to arc 3 point, it's as the name implies, you just have 3 points. So the first point is where you start the arc, the second point is where you want to end the arc, and the last point is based on the radius of the circle. Okay, so as I move up, the radius of the circle, or the center of the circle, is where the line ends. I would show you, but my mouse is stuck on this right now. But the dotted line should be clear as to where the center is, and it tells you as the value changes what the radii of the arc will be. Something I forgot to mention that is pretty important with these Autodesk programs, it's highly recommended to use a mouse when using them. Trying to do this on a laptop and a trackpad is very difficult and is more trouble than it's worth. If you have a mouse, there are a lot of functions in the mouse button and the mouse that really helps you. Specifically, if you have a 3-button mouse, which is one with a scroll wheel that you can click. Autodesk is very odd because it's inverted when it comes to zooming. So you scroll up, you zoom out. You scroll back, you zoom in. I'm sure there's a way to change it, but again, I'll look into it and try to remember to tell you guys for the next video. So going back to the mouse though, if you click in the scroll wheel, you can actually use it to grab the drawing page and move it wherever you want. So for reference, we have the 0, 0 point right there. I'm dragging it to the upper right, and now I'm dragging it to the bottom left. All right. It's very nice if you need to look at a specific spot on your drawing. So you can just click, drag it, move it, and so on. Now, if you want to like look at a specific view of your drawing, say you have a 3D model and you want to look at the top, this cube here is your best friend in that instance. So right now it says front. So looking at again, pretending we're looking at a cube, we're looking at the front of it. So if we were to click this arrow right here, this tiny little arrow, it'll go to the top. As you can see, the grid went away because the grid is based on the XY plane. Now, according to this compass down here, we are on the ZX plane. So you don't see it anymore. This box can go to any of the other faces that you want. So I'm back to the front, go to the right. I can go to the top right. I can go to the back, top right. I can go to the bottom. And you can also either click and drag so that you move the shape around at very weird angles. Or if it gets to a point where you can't navigate back to where you need, you can just click this home button and it'll take you to this isometric view of your object, and you can reorient yourself from there. Continuing along this bar, I'm going to skip this button here. It's supposed to be a shortcut, but I honestly find it more of a pain in the ass than anything. This hand button is exactly what clicking in your scroll wheel does. If you don't have a scroll wheel, this is what you would have to just have to use. It's called the pan function. So you click the hand and your little cursor becomes a hand, and you click and drag as you would with this scroll wheel if you had one. So I'm going to ignore the magnifying glass because it's just one of the zoom buttons. And I'm going to go to this one. This little crosshair that we have now is very similar to how this box works, but it kind of gives you hints as to what it does. So the ring on the outside is for rotating your object or your drawing screen around this crosshair center, which is the center of your view. So as you can see, it's rotating around that point. Okay. Now, if I were to click and drag inside the circle, I am orbiting around the object, like so. Okay. I'm going to reorient back to the front, and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees using these curved arrows. And then we have this and that, the top and bottom lines and the left and right lines. It's exactly as it implies. So the top and bottom, if you're over that line when you click and drag, is to rotate your object on that specific horizontal axis at that center point. Okay, and then similarly, when you do it on the left and right lines, it's to rotate around the vertical axis at that center point. Um, I feel like I was a little confusing in explaining that, but if you play around with it, you'll understand it yourself and it won't be as confusing. So, continuing back to the commands, we're going to go ahead and go to rectangle. So, again, there's multiple ways to do rectangle. There's 2-point and there's 3-point. I'm going to go ahead and start with 2-point, which is a rectangle. You start at a point to draw it out, and then you can type in your values. So that's specific. So I want to do a 2 and tab, and I want to go 0.5 and then hit enter. And there's my 2.5 rectangle. Okay, that's the 2-point. The 3-point, let's say I want to start here. So I want to draw a rectangle 0.5 at a 45-degree angle, like at the first line there, and then the next side at 1. So this rectangle is now at a 45-degree angle to this axis, while this one that I drawn out was just square to the grid. That's the major difference between the two. One, you can be a little bit more detailed, and the other one is just for a quick rectangle or a square or whatever you want. I personally just use the 2-point, and then I just rotate the whole object to what I need instead of messing with 3-point. But yeah, so I'll go ahead and select all and delete that. The fillet function. Actually, let's go into polygon first before we go into fillet. It'll be a little bit easier for transition. So polygon. You click the polygon button and you come up with this. So we have this little box that gives us a number of sides. If we have this box selected, we select that one, it's number of sides that we can have. So we can have a 6-pointed object or 6-sided object. In both cases, they're exactly the same. It's just a matter of what it uses as its drawings parameter. So if it's by sides, there is a circle inscribed to the shape. If it's by the points, there's a circle circumscribed on the shape. So let's do 6, and let's go, oops, I want to start 0, 0, and I'm going to go ahead and go to there, right? And I'm going to do 6 sides. I'm going to start at, again. So you don't want to click done. You want to go ahead and just play around with it while you have the chance, right? So you can't actually change the measurements in this, but if you were to draw a circle around it, you could tell the size difference. Because right now, if I were to try to do something, you can see that I'm attached. Here we go, attached by the edge. See? And if I rotate that, it should be a little bit bigger, but I can't rotate it perfectly. So, well, rather, it should be the same size because of the way I'm drawing it. But you guys get the gist. Simple geometry stuff that no one really pays attention to anymore nowadays. Crud. I was going to use fillet with the polygon, so I'm just going to go ahead and draw something like that. Okay. So fillet. Fillet is a very fun tool. You have two options. You have fillet and you have chamfer. So fillet is for rounding off edges, and chamfer is just to remove an edge altogether. I'm going to start with fillet. So fillet, when you have this little box, ask for a value, and it's the radius of the circle that you want your corner to be filleted to. So I'm going to say 0.25 in this case. I'm going to click two edges that share a common corner. So I'm going to click that edge, and then I'm not clicking this one yet. I'm going to hover over it, and you can see that the edge is going to shave off like that. So if I click it, this is the center point that the arc is fillet it to, right? And if you were to measure this, this is a radius of 0.25. Okay. So I'm going to go to chamfer, and there's three options for chamfer. First, I'm going to just start with the original. So right now, the distance 0.125, okay? Chamfer, as you can see from the shape, it's D and D if you look closely. And what that means is this 0.25 is how far it'll go in on each side. So if I click here and click here, it'll cut in 0.125 from the corner straight in. And then the diagonal is the resulting chamfer, right? But if I were to do this one, which is D1 and then D2, and change this D2 value to say 0.25, oops, and then do it again. So D1 is the first line you click. So I'm going to click this one, and D2 is the second line. As you can see, again, this point that where the original corner was, this side went in 0.125, and this one went in 0.25, and the resulting chamfer is the diagonal. Now if we go to this one, the last option is chamfering based on an angle, okay? So distance and angle. And I'm just going to go ahead and do this so it's a little bit easier to see instead of me trying to explain this in a terrible way. First click, second click. So the first click is where the cut-in is. The second click on the second line is how far from that point and then how far from the point that it goes back, the angle based on the corner. Okay, so the angle here is 45 degrees to this line. I'm going to go ahead and do it again to the next one at a more extreme corner, angle, sorry. So 1 and then 2. Come on. 1 and then 2. Oh, I guess it won't let me because there's nothing really to use. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to just Control Z to undo, or you can use one of these two arrows here. This one's to undo, this one's to go forward. So chamfer, 0.125, and then 60. Oh, the shape, the angle obviously is going into the shape, so it won't work. Let's do 120 then, which should be the other direction. Nope, still too big. 80? Nope. Messing up on my geometry. I'm so good at this instruction thing. There we go, 25. So 125, 0.125 in, and then 25 degree from that corner up. All right. So that's the chamfer and the fillet function, polygon, draw, circle, arc, all that. Last thing that I'm probably going to show you guys before I call this the end of the video, and then just go into what I'm going to do next video, is text. It works exactly like how it does in PowerPoint, where you click the text option, and then you click and drag, and it becomes your text box. And this is what you have options of centering and all that. So this is where you will write. So I'm going to go say hello world. And size is in inches, not pixels like it is in Microsoft Word or Office, PowerPoint or anything like that. So we have 0.1 inch, 0.12 inch, 0.125, and 0.24. I'm going to go ahead and do 0.24 so it's a little bit easier to see. I'm going to click OK. And that is our little text box. And then you can click inside it to change the text at any point. Hit escape. You can select the word and then drag it around as you can with any other object after you deselect what you're doing, and then you can just click and drag. So that's the end of that video. Let me know if I went a little too fast, if I wasn't talking clearly or anything like that, or if I wasn't too good with what I was doing. These are multiple takes and then I edit them together, so please bear with me if there's some weird jumps at all. I am a mechanical engineering student, not a theater major that is working in editing or anything like that. So the next thing we're going to go into is this constrain. Actually, no, that might be a little too much right now. We're going to go into pattern and modify. And then after we do that, probably going to start going to more 3D objects or going into 3D. Um, and then we'll go into constrain. And then we'll finally go to this finish sketch button after we play around with some other things here, but probably not too much. But once we click this finish sketch button, we'll be going into a completely different world essentially of this program. And that's where it's really useful for us because it's heavy in 3D modeling at that point. Excuse me. But yep, please just go ahead and let me know either in the comments or email or something. These videos will be posted on the ASME YouTube, and the videos should be posted into the website. But this first video is being sent out by listserv, and every single one later will just be sent out as a reminder and say like weekly updates for you guys to take a look at. So these are recorded for you guys to watch at your time and discretion. So take it easy and enjoy your break.